What's up, YouTube? Team Gradelock here. I'm your host, the AlphonZeus, Team Gradelock, the one and only Asian persuasion. Oh, you all go to hell.
That's racist.
None of you guys, all you guys enjoy good Asian.
Wait, we're not here?
And we're doing a top 8 deck profile from ARG, New Jersey, and from Jinx Collectibles. And we got the only Canadian in New Jersey who plays Cardfight Vanguard,
I'm
John,
pretty sure that's not true.
a.k.a. De Silva.
The most unlucky one, too.
Yeah, that's also true, too. So please, John, if you can, break down the whole Chaos Breaker deck, your whole top 8 experience, and how your overall outcome was.
Well, I'm just going to give a little bit onto the experience before I get into the deck profile. I took in Chaos with me to the tourney, and it's honestly the first time I took Chaos into a major before I should have. But I did enjoy the time that I took it in. In short, I went through the Swiss undefeated and winning through rounds of 2 Gear Chronicles, a Kagero, Messiah deck, and Aquaforce. And then I lost my way in top 8 when I had to face Messiah again, because this deck can't do anything against Messiah. And it's sad to be that was the top 8 matchup, but that's just how it happened.
Can you be more specific on who you lost to in top 8? Was it like a tall guy? Was it a short guy? Like come on.
It's a very, very short guy. You call it like a very sacky Ian Ramirez.
So you lost to midget in top 8?
Yes.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. That's all we wanted to get.
You midget in Swiss.
You could say I cut it short. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. No one cares, Ian.
Did you not speak?
Anyway, we're gonna start with the starter because it's already drawn out as it is. Our starter is Star-Vader Carbon. He is basically our mini version of Conroe for the deck. His ability is that as an act, when your opponent has a lock card, you shove him into your soul and then search for a grade 1 and call it. Using that ability allows you to get important key grade 1s when need be to make sure that you have consistency with using your grade 1 cards. And it's really stupid is the fact that they made it so that we have a starter that's basically Colony Maker for our decks. Most consistent starter. Then moving on to grade 3s. It wouldn't be a Chaos Breaker deck without 4 Chaos Breaker Dragons.
That are not SP.
Chaos Breaker Dragon's limit break ability is that you can Soul Blast 1 Star-Vader, and when your opponent's locked card unlocks, you get to retire and draw off of it. And then in order to be able to lock on his own, because he's actually good at doing that as well, you can Counterblast 1 and discard any Star-Vader in order to choose a card on your opponent's board and lock it. Not GB. This card was an OG before that was even a thing. This card is very good because on turns when you just ride to 3 first, it allows you to lock down your opponent if they rush you, and then his Limit Break ability allows you to Soul Blast and plus off your opponent, having the lock cards to begin with. And this card combos well with one of the strides because it's actually able to make sure that you have circles open in order to do one of the stride's abilities. And just being able to maintain locks and being able to plus off of your opponent's units unlocking, you basically just retire and draw is a really, really good way to plus over your opponent, because you're denying them the circle and then you're going to be able to plus off of it at the end of the turn. But it is a limit break ability, so we do have cards to compensate for that. It'll come up in a bit, but you can't run the deck without Chaos Breaker. He also he helps you against matchups where you struggle a lot, mainly being where Link Joker struggles a lot. That mainly being Royal Paladin and 7C's Grade 1 Rush, because they rush the hell out of you. So he's just able to lock them as soon as you ride onto him, which Messiahs can't do because they have to stride in order to lock you.
Of course.
Then the backup is 3 Star-Vader Chaos Bringer. You run this because he has Chaos in his name, so he's actually able to work with most of the strides in order to keep a lockdown in your opponent. And he's the most consistent thing for the deck because he's able to Superior Ride into Chaos Breaker. To do that, you have to be at Limit Break. During your opponent's turn, during your opponent's main phase, if they have 2 lock cards on the board, you Counterblast 1 and you ride Chaos Breaker from your deck as stand. This helps a lot because it guarantees that you're going to be on your Ace Vanguard when you need be, and it gives you an extra soul for Chaos Breaker. And in order to help himself reach the two units locked on your opponent's board, his other ability is that you can counterblast one Star-Vader on ride in order to lock a card in your opponent's back row. So this card is just able to help you make sure that you're able to play with whatever Vanguard that you need, and just make sure that the game is as consistent as you need it to be. And it's a very simple grade 3 lineup. It just can't run without it, to be honest. Then we're gonna move on to grade 2s. The most important one, we run 4 Photon. Star-Vader Photon is probably the most important grade 2 in this entire deck because it's the only card in this deck that doesn't require Counterblast in order to lock.
And one of the most expensive rares in the trial deck.
I mean, it only comes in the trial deck as an LR, so...
I mean, it pays for the trial deck, so...
Yeah.
Basically.
Its ability is that on play, on rearguard, if you have a Star-Vader Vanguard and your opponent has a lock card, you can choose one of your opponent's rearguards and lock it. It's one of the most free cards that Link Joker has in order to force your opponent to, in order to force lock cards on your opponent's board, and it's honestly just a very... it's just a very, very good card for the deck. It stops rushers for you without having to abuse much counterblast against your opponent. And no matter what, having a card that just locks for free is really, really good. I can't argue with that. But
no counterblast.
I mean, this one does counterblast. This is Disorder Vader Iron. This is specifically for Chaos Breaker. His ability is that on play you can counterblast one, and when your opponent has a lock card and lock an opponent's rear guards, it's basically the same as Photon. The only thing that it does have over Photon though is that it's an 11k attacker if you have a Chaos Vanguard, which both of your grade 3s are. This is really good because being a control deck that this deck is, you don't want to play down too many boosters, so this card can attack on the Vanguard on its own, force shield that of your opponent. And again, just having a unit that's able to lock cards down on your opponent's board in a very, very fast manner is very, very important. And it's honestly very good, very appreciated that that Chaos Breaker was able to get 2 versions of the card that's just able to call and lock on your opponent. Even if it costs a counterblast, locking down an opponent's board is very, very worth it. It slows down their game. It's just very, very good.
And it works.
And then you run 4 Colony Maker. This is my little thing because most builds around I see are playing 8 grade 3s and 11 grade 2s with only 3 Colony Maker. I cut down the 1-3 to play an extra Colony Maker because this deck suffers against other control matchups, mainly being Kagero and Gear Chronicles Revolution card. So you just want a unit that's able to refill board very quickly in case your board is getting blown up. And she is very good because on call, you can counterblast one if your opponent has a lock card, search for a grade 1, and call it to board anywhere. It's basically a sword me, and it's just... It's really, really good just for the deck. You have the ability to lock down your opponent's card. You have the ability to lock down your opponent's board while having the ability to fill up your board. So it's just very, very plus for you. All the grade 2s in this deck are important, and they all do their part. Then moving on to grade 1s. Move on to 4 Flowers and Vacuum Cosmo Wreath, unflipping PGs. You run this over the Star-Vader PGs. Because you want to make sure that you have your counterblast open to do whatever you need to do, because this deck counterblasts every turn that it needs to. Having the non-Star-Vader soul does not matter at all. So it's just very more plus to have a card that unflips your damage as opposed to one card that works with Chaos Breaker. Because over the course you get like 2 unflips most of the time, so it's very beneficial just to have the 2 extra damage to use. And since I run 7 grade 3s, unfortunately I have to run 4 of the Stride Fodder. This thing is not a Star-Vader, so it kind of conflicts with a lot of things, but you just need to make sure that you're able to stride, and that's what this deck needs to. This deck doesn't need to stride, but it's how it gets most of its pressure out, so it's just important. And then the other grade 1s, the only Star-Vader grade 1s in this deck, I run 3 Limit Break Enablers. Most decks I see are only running 2 of this card, or 1 of it, which I think is a mistake, because if it gets blown up, you're not in a good position at all. I'm mainly basing it off of Cairo because if this thing gets blown up, you're not going to be able to use your limit break against Chaos. Your limit break against the control decks, and where Chaos Breaker needs his limit break ability most of the time is against control decks, so you're able to keep up with them. And you just need multiple copies on board to make sure that you can maintain your limit break on. Because the worst feeling in the world is when you have one of these on board and your opponent Chrono Jets it away or Titans it away and you can't do anything anymore.
Or Vanquisher.
Well, if I put one of these in the front row, then I'm the baddie. Then for Zinc, good card for Chaos himself because on the rear guard, anytime I want, as long as my opponent has a lock card, I put its soul. I have to have a Chaos Vanguard. I'm sorry if I don't remember if I said that already. But you counter charge 2 and soul charge 2. You give yourself more counter blasts to use for your abilities, and you're also giving yourself soul for Chaos Breaker. A very consistent card and like one of the best unflipping cards I've seen for most archetypes in a while.
Unless you soul charge a crit.
That happens all the time. I honestly most of the time I honestly soul charge these two. That hurts.
That's Vanguard.
No, Vanguard is swinging with a 71k Blizza and then healing. Spoiled. Anyway, moving on to crits. 4 Paradigm Shift Dragon because I can actually use it in my deck. Its effect is that I can put it on the top of my deck. If I have Star-Vader Vanguard, I can lock one of my opponent's back row if they already have a lock card, and then I shuffle my deck. They don't need to have a lock card for me to shuffle this back, but the extra bonus of me just adding it back is just there because having more extra crits in the deck is what's beneficial about the card. Being able to lock an opponent's card is good, but it's kind of having extra crits in deck is honestly the only way that this deck is able to win. So that's why you need it. Then for more crits, you play 2 Meteor Liger. You play 2 Apollo Dragon.
I'm just happy you didn't bail me at the last minute again.
You play 2 Wise Soldat.
In a good time.
And you play 2 Spark Doll. Very crazy. 4 different triggers. I like to do that. I don't care. 12 crit on top of the extra 4 because this card is... the crits are kind of the thing that are going to win you all your games. So it's just going... Like, you need the crits in Chaos Breaker. It doesn't have any way of actually finishing off your opponent. You just need to be able to control them and hit them with crits while you're controlling them.
Of course.
And then 4 heals. Unfortunately, the best trigger in this game. You need to run 4. G-Guardians are a thing. And
lost the heals.
Yeah, I lost the matchups too, but you need to run heals.
Mainly the heal.
Then moving on to Stride deck. For Kaos Universe, the best Stride that Link Jokers have. And that cannot be argued whatsoever. Any Link Joker deck would want this at all, and it's what makes Chaos Breaker better than Messiah. Its ability is counterblast 1, flip a copy of itself. Your opponent, you choose a circle, and your opponent has to choose 1 card from their hand and play it on that circle locked. And then its extra benefit is that if your opponent has, if you have more than two cards face up in your G zone, you get to lock a card on top of that. What this card is good for is punishing your opponent for playing around Link Joker. Because if they're keeping cards in their hand so that you can't lock them, this is going to force them immediately onto the board, and it's just going to make them play your game. No matter what route they take, they're going to get locked down. They're either getting locked down by Universe or they're getting locked down by Chaos Breaker. And even if they try to play around Universe by calling units on top, your opponent can have their front row locked like this, but in order to make sure that you're able to lock it down again, when they unlock, you kill one, and then with Chaos Breaker's ability, and then you play the second Universe, because this will be unlocked, to lock another card from their hand, and then lock this again. So you're able to maintain the lock for another turn, and you're just basically able to make sure that they can't play. The other good thing about this card is that the minus that your opponent has to take from the hand just to put a card on the board, it's honestly a very big decision because a lot of the times if they're a combo deck, they like don't want to put cards on the board from their hand. Most of the time they end up throwing away 10k shields, which is going to hurt them in the long run because I'm just going to be able to hit higher base columns that they can't guard anymore. And the card is just like, it's just very, very good for the deck. It, like, this deck specifically, it helps it win against matchups that it wasn't able to before, like Grand Blue, Pale Moon, and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then the obvious one is Big Crunch Dragon. Counterboss 1, flip a copy of itself.
Omega Lock.
Omega Lock a column. If you have one, if there's a resist unit in front of it, if there's a resist unit in one column but a non-resist unit in the back, you can still lock the column by choosing the unit in the back and then Omega Lock the column because you didn't choose the resist unit. It's just very good at maintaining the lock even more. The card's just been very, very good, and it's your alternative if you're able to G-guard and then go into him instead of Universe if your opponent filled up their board. And then the card that helps you against other Link Joker matchups is Amnesty Messiah. Its effect is Counterboss 1, and when it attacks, you'll unlock as many units as you can, and then you can gain +3 for every unit unlocked. If you unlock 3, you gain a crit. In Mirror Match, this is essential because you need to make sure that against the Mirror Match, you're able to maintain your board and push at your opponent. Don't let them use Chaos Breaker's ability. Against Messiahs, it helps you, but it's not always going to be what's there to win you the game, but it could. Like if your opponent doesn't have the perfect guard and you swing big with the crit, they may lose at points. And then the finisher of my deck as of right now, I've been running this in Chaos for a while. Snow Elements Blizza. You counterboss 1 and flip up anything from your G zone. It gets +5 for every face-up card in your G zone, and that's it. But the thing about it is that what makes it very strong in this deck is that my 4 main strides flip themselves up. So I only have to stride 4 times, and I have 8 units face up. So Blizza's going to be swinging big already without having much effort to stride. And it's my only other alternative finisher because my way of winning the game at most points is just counting how many perfect guards they have and swinging big. If they hit a heal trigger like Ian did, I mean, you will lose, but that's just how the game goes. And sad that it has to happen in top 8, but whatever.
Midgets.
And then moving on to G-Guardians. The only good G-Guardian for Chaos Breaker, because all they want to support is Messiahs. Screw you.
We're good.
Its effect is on when your opponent attacks, when you G-Guard and you have more than 1 card face up in your G-Zone, you discard a card and your opponent, and this gets +10k shield. This is good because it turns the dead cards in your hand to extra cards for guard fodder. Instant 36 against your opponent's usual 26 is very, very good for your deck. 1 Dismal because VMAX is a very, very bitchy card. You need to make sure that your board is protected and you're not going to be dealt the damage. Because this deck honestly does lose to VMAX. I'm not hating. It's everybody's reason for running Dismal. I don't have anything to protect. I just need to make sure I don't die.
Nah, you're good.
And then one of... Oh wow, look, this is my Link Joker G-Guardian. The one that's actually shit. You lock a card in your back row and get +5k shield. Yeah, like I care about my cards being locked. It's just a 20k shield that can sometimes be used for Amnesty.
Not one.
But yeah, that's it, guys. To be honest, this is one of my favorite decks in the game. The ability to maintain your opponent in a weak position for a very, very long time. In most matchups, this is a very, very prevalent deck. Is very, very strong in order to maintain that. Maintain a lock, and most matchups can't help that. But that's it.
Alrighty then. And I guess we'll end the video off right there. Thank you, John De Silva, aka Drake Degrassi. And we'll take it from there. If you guys like this video, please hit that like button. If you guys like our channel, please hit that like button. If you guys hate us, please comment down below saying you hate us.
If you hate Ian, like I do.
If you hate small people like Ian, no, just write down saying midget in the comment down below. And
no offense to any midgets, by the way, besides Ian.
Besides,
Team Gradelock discriminates against short people.
No,
this
just-
is bullshit.
just
We're being
Ian.
discriminated against. We are the minority, and Team Gradelock is trying to oppress us.
People can't talk.
No, just short people with first name Ian and last name Ramirez. Anyway, now.
if you guys can, please share this video on social justice warrior fail
Anyway.
complication. All right, love you guys. Later.